I've been trying to call. I've been on my own for long enough. Maybe you can show me how to love. Maybe I'm going through withdrawals. You don't even have to do too much. You can turn me on with just a touch, baby. I look around and since it's cold and empty, no one's around to judge me. I can't see clearly when you're gone. And I said, ooh, I'm blinded by the lights. No, I can't sleep right until I feel your touch. I said, ooh, I'm drowning in the night. Oh, when I'm like this, you're the one I trust. I'm running out of time, 'cause I can see the sun light up the sky. So I hit the road in overdrive, baby. Hit the road in overdrive. The city's cold and empty. No one's around to judge me. I can't see clearly when you're gone. And I said, ooh, I'm blinded by the lights. No, I can't sleep until I feel your touch. I said, ooh, I'm drowning in the night. Oh, when I'm like this, you're the one I trust. I'm coming back to let you know I can never say it on the phone, but whenever let it go this time. I said, ooh, I'm blinded by the lights. No, I can't sleep until I feel your touch. I'm blinded by the lights. No, I can't sleep until I feel your touch. Feel free to be whoever you want to be. Feel free to dance, feel free to sing, just feel free. Feels like the world is picking on you.
Well. Welcome back to the Two Tone Talk Podcast, episode 48. And my goodness gracious, do we have a lot of things to discuss today in the world of not just the NFL, but the Tennessee Titans in general, as it's been a lot going on this week. I mean, I feel like every time I open Twitter, I am just expecting the worst. I am expecting news of some devastating trade. I am expecting something ridiculous that Vrabel said in a press conference. I mean, it's like insane. It's totally insane. So, I have not done an episode since the trade went down. I did an episode early Monday and then late in the afternoon Monday. You know what happened the great mayor of Murfreesboro, Kevin Byard, traded to, of all teams, the Philadelphia Eagles. I know it's been a few days, but I haven't done an episode since, so I do want to briefly talk about Kevin Byard and how I feel about this trade and how I feel about him. First of all, you could not have a classier player. This guy came to the Titans at a time when the Titans were in the slums of the NFL. I'm talking the laughing stock of the league. And he was one of the guys who helped turn it around, essentially, and make them a respectable team. Obviously, we remember the plays over the years, all of the interceptions, all of the major plays he made. But what he did for the city, what he did for the team, I said it, on Monday, I'll say it here. I have zero bad things to say about Kevin Byard. Zero. I mean, he is a good guy. A good player who is an all-time great for this organization, right? I mean, he is an all-time great. One of those that you will remember in the years to come. You will look back on his time with us. Now, as far as how I feel about the trade and what the Titans got, I get that people are mad. I get that people feel like a 5th and a 6th rounder are not worth trading away a guy like Kevin Byard. I will just offer you this. The Titans going into Monday did not have a 5th or a 6th round pick. They needed picks. A guy in Kevin Byard who's been with the Titans a long time, not washed at all, but nearing, he's in the latter years of his career. And this is the key right here. Due to his contract restructure and the situation, if he were to be a member of the Titans next season, it was going to be a $19 million cap hit, and that means Kevin Byard was not going to be on this team next year. So this was it. And I guarantee you he knew it, they knew it. This season was the farewell tour for Kevin Byard in Nashville. And you either trade him and get something in return, or you keep him for a couple months and then you release him and you get nothing in return. We needed the draft picks, so I get it. I mean, I'm just as sad about it as everybody, but I get why the Titans would do it. Yet you had to have more draft picks. I was not surprised by it. Seeing him in his first press conference in the locker room at Philadelphia, it's tough, man. It's tough when you see a player like that. And honestly, us Titans fans, we haven't had to see that in a long time. It's been a long time since we've seen players that we love so much go to another team, and it hurts. It hurts. We had it with AJ last year. Now we're going to have it with Byard. Seeing him, the Eagles just posted a little bit ago a picture of him at practice today wearing his Eagles jersey. It's weird. It's weird. It's tough. It's like seeing an ex who's now dating a much better looking guy than you. You know what I'm saying? This is like the ex that dumped you and then went and started dating a supermodel. So I wish nothing but the best to Kevin Byard. I get why the Titans did it. This is not like the AJ trade. The AJ trade still makes no sense. This one, at least, you can make sense of, as bad as we hate it. And it got me to thinking, how long has it been before AJ and Byard? How long has it been since there were players that Titans fans actually were sad to see go play for other teams? I mean, I remember when we released Jarrell Casey and he went and played a season or half a season with the Broncos. I don't remember anybody being like so wound up about it as we were about AJ and now about Byard. I mean, I still say that in terms of seeing Tennessee Titans legends go play for other teams, there will never be anything more sickening than seeing Steve McNair be the quarterback of the Baltimore Ravens. That happened. That happened. For those of you who have been around for a little while like me, you remember seeing Steve quarterback the Baltimore Ravens. It will never. Well, I'm not going to say it will never be worse than that, because we got a few days before the trade deadline. But I mean, that was awful, right? Eddie George went and played for the Dallas Cowboys. You remember that? Awful, awful. And not just that Steve went and played for the Ravens, but Derek Mason and Samari Rolle were there at the same time. That was awful. If they had won a Super Bowl with that crew, that would have just been the worst. Okay, so that brings me to trades. We've already traded Kevin Byard, and there were some. I mean, it's this never-ending thing with the Titans. They make a move, and half of everybody swears that we're tanking. That move means we're tanking. But then there's another flip side of it that's like, well, wait a minute. Maybe, listen, I don't know. As I sit here right now on October the 27th, I don't know what's going on with this team. I don't know. There's rumors galore. We have seen rumors on Twitter for days. None from actually verified, credible accounts, by the way. I just want to throw that out. I have still, as I sit here, I have yet to see one report about Derrick Henry or anybody else from the Titans. I have yet to see any credible source. The closest, Diana Russini said that there are some in the NFL who believe the Titans are totally, everybody's up for sale. That's probably the most credible source. I think she said that. But for the most part, these are accounts that they bought a blue check mark from Elon Musk, and they're parading around acting like they have insight. Rumor alert, the Baltimore Ravens, and they always word it differently. The Baltimore Ravens have inquired about Derrick Henry. The Baltimore Ravens are interested in Derrick Henry. The Baltimore Ravens are thinking about trading for Derrick Henry. It's like, okay, could you guys be any more vague? Okay, so let me just say this. Any opinion that I have, it is not because of some random Twitter account that decided they were going to be NFL analysts. Okay. I have a Two-Tone Talk Twitter that you can go follow, but I do not ever claim to have an inside source on anything. I'm just over there shouting my opinion into the void, just like the rest of you. As far as trades, and the names that we've thrown around, Danico Autry, Tier Tart, guys like that, you probably get like a 6th rounder for them. Okay, I'm just going to tell you, you're getting late round draft picks if you trade them. Now, Danico Autry, a guy like that, he finds himself in the exact same situation as Byard. He's done with the Titans at the end of this season anyway. He's done. He's not going to be back. So if the Titans could decide, hey, let's go ahead and get a 6th round pick just to get something in return for him, so that we get something instead of waiting a couple months and then he leaves for free. Yeah, you can do that. If you think a 6th round pick is worth getting rid of Danico Autry or Tier Tart, go right on ahead. The two main guys that I'm looking at are Derrick Henry and DeAndre Hopkins. Okay, let's talk about D-Hop first. I don't want to trade DeAndre Hopkins. I don't want to. I mean, unless you can get something unbelievable in return for him, I do not want to trade DeAndre Hopkins. I'll tell you why. He's on a 2-year deal. He seems to be content in Nashville. He came to the Titans because it was the best offer. DeAndre Hopkins is not chasing rings, everybody. He is not chasing Super Bowl rings. He is not trying to... hey, I just want to say Luke in the chat with a hot take. He said, I think adding Kayvon Wallace is an upgrade over Byard. Woo! Some of y'all in the chat, what do you think about what Luke has to say there? I mean, Kayvon Wallace is a guy the Titans signed within the last couple days. Anyway, I don't want Hopkins traded unless you can get unbelievable value. I don't want to get rid of Hopkins. I'll tell you why. Odds are you're going to have a young quarterback next season. Okay? Whether it's Will Levis, whether it's somebody you draft, you're probably going to have a young quarterback, and they're going to need a reliable target. They're going to need a reliable target that can catch the ball and can make plays in the passing game. I would like to see DeAndre Hopkins back. He has shown enough of the DeAndre Hopkins that we know, that we've come to know, that I would like to see him back on the team. Because I just think it would be a good guy to have for a young quarterback. Okay. That being said, like I said, if you can just get unbelievable value for him, like something that would make us like sit up in our chair, okay. But otherwise, I don't want to trade DeAndre Hopkins. Then there's Derrick Henry, the king. You know, everybody keeps saying this era of Titans football it might be over. This era of Titans football might be coming to an end. This era where we've, kind of been good. Can I tell you this, guys? It's already over. Really. When you think about it in a way, this era's already been over. Taylor Lewan's gone. Ben Jones is gone. Corey Davis is gone. A.J. Brown is gone. David Long is gone. Jayon Brown is gone. Okay, the list goes on of guys who are no longer here. Jonnu Smith is gone. Nate Davis is gone. I mean, now Kevin Byard is gone. This era of Titans football is already over. Except for one guy. Except for one guy. And I guess until he's gone, it won't quite feel over. And that's number 22. And I mean, listen. I echo the sentiments of so many in the chat. I don't want to see Derrick Henry playing for another team. I don't. I sure don't want to see him playing for the Baltimore Ravens. That's like Steve all over again. Okay? I don't want to see Derrick Henry playing for the Ravens. I don't want to see him playing for the Cowboys. And that's just a personal thing because I hate the Cowboys. Okay? But I don't want to see him playing for anybody else. And that what that means is kind of like D-Hop, unless you can just get some great value for him. I mean, I don't know. Derrick Henry still has some juice in the tank. Absolutely. We've seen, even this year, even though the crappy start the Titans have had, like Derrick Henry can still go. Okay. The Titans currently don't have a third-round pick in the draft. I think they're going to want a third-round pick. I just don't know if Derrick Henry's worth giving up for a third-round pick. I'm sorry. I know in April when we're watching the draft, if we don't have a third-rounder, we're going to be sitting there going, gosh, I wish we had a third-round pick. But I just don't know if Derrick Henry... I mean, gosh, if you're going to... No matter what the record is, if you're going to put Will Levis in there... or Malik, or both, which we'll get to that in a second. Wouldn't you like to have Derrick Henry in there to just be a crutch they can kind of lean on? I don't know. I don't want to trade Derrick Henry. Like, if you can get like a second rounder in return for Derrick Henry, then okay. If somebody's willing to give that up, we might need to pay attention. A first rounder for sure, but I don't think anybody will. I think the ceiling is you'll get a third round pick for him. I think that's the ceiling. You will get a third round pick for him as much as you can get. I don't know if it's worth it. As I sit here today, I know there are some who are just totally saying tank the whole thing, but it's like, gosh, I don't know. I don't know. Luke says, I want Derrick Henry being the first one running through that new stadium, the house that Henry built. Yeah, sure. I just think that by then, Derrick will be, 33, 34 years old. Probably in an Adrian Peterson role that we saw him in late in his career, where he's just kind of a third down back or something. It's sad to think about, but, I don't know. I don't know. And there is still a possibility, because Derrick's going to want to be paid. If he goes into the offseason, he's going to want to be paid handsomely. I don't think anybody's going to want to pay him as much as he's going to want. And there's some people who think he'll come back to Tennessee just to stay here his whole career and take a pay cut, whatever. As I sit here right now, I don't want to trade Derrick Henry or DeAndre Hopkins unless it is for unbelievable, unforeseen amounts of value. That's where I stand. There are some people talking about trading Ryan Tannehill. Let me tell you this. If somebody will give up a 4th or 5th round pick, even a 6th round pick for Ryan Tannehill, I will drive him to the city he's traded to. Like, if the Cleveland Browns need a placeholder quarterback while Deshaun Watson sits on the bench and makes more than any of us will ever see in our lives, if they need a placeholder quarterback, I will get in the car and drive Ryan Tannehill to Cleveland, Ohio. Okay? Some people are talking about trading Malik Willis. If somebody's willing to trade a 7th round pick for Malik Willis, I will drive Malik to that city. Okay? Some people have mentioned trading Treylon Burks. I don't think the Titans are going to do it just because it's so early in his career. He was just drafted last year. I know it's been disappointing so far, but I just can't imagine them trading a guy that's that young that they just drafted last year. 1st round pick, going already declaring it a failure this soon. I don't think they're going to do it. So that's kind of where I stand on trades. If you want to try and get a 5th or 6th rounder for some of those defensive tackles and guys like that, that's fine. I think Henry and Hopkins all obviously hold the most value, unless the Titans were going to trade a guy like Jeffrey Simmons, which they're not. That would be utter stupidity. So, that's kind of where I stand on the trades. But it's everything's up in the air. Everything, it just feels like who knows. And that brings me to Sunday's game. Titans-Falcons. There are some people who think the rebuild and the tank has already started. There are some people who think Vrabel doesn't have it in him to tank or rebuild. I'm of that belief. But I think we'll know a lot more after Sunday. If the Titans lose, then I think the probability of some big-time trades being made increases. If you lose, fall to 2-5. 2-5, that's kind of a point where you're getting to no return. Like, you're getting to the point of no return. 2-5, like, that's hard to come back from. Especially in an AFC that has a lot of really good teams. In a division where the Jaguars are 5-2. Houston's better than you thought they were going to be. Indianapolis has already beat you once. 2-5 feels like we are about too far gone. But let me offer you this. What happens if the Titans win Sunday? What happens if they beat Atlanta? What happens if Will Levis does well? I mean, look, let's talk about compare it to what's going on in Chicago right now. Justin Fields is hurt. He's their guy, but he's hurt. And this kid, Bagent, has come in. And he didn't do anything extraordinary, but he didn't lose them the game on Sunday. And the Bears won, which they haven't been doing a whole lot of. So, I asked the question Monday, what happens if the Bears keep winning with this kid? What happens? You don't know the last time we asked that question? It was last year with the 49ers. I'm not saying the Bears are the 49ers. 49ers have a much better roster than the Bears. But the point is, last year when they had to put Brock Purdy in and everybody was like, oh my God, Mr. Irrelevant. This kid's he's going to tank the team. But then he started winning. started putting up good numbers, started making nice plays, started winning. Then it got, now, Grant, he had a lot of help around him. Deebo Samuel, Christian McCaffrey, George Kittle, Brandon Ayuk. That's a good lineup to have around you, for sure. But the point is, he started playing well, he started winning, and the 49ers ended up getting rid of Trey Lance, who they drafted at number 3 overall in the draft. They got rid of Jimmy Garoppolo, who was like their surefire, reliable quarterback, and now Brock Purdy's the guy. Now, he's had a rough couple of weeks. But he's the starter in San Francisco. So what happens? I don't want to get into that, but what happens if Will Levis comes in? I'm not saying he's going to throw for 500 yards, but what happens if he does okay? What happens if he does okay? What happens if the Titans beat the Falcons Sunday? And then what happens if they turn around and go to Pittsburgh on Thursday and beat the Steelers? Do you realize, as bad as things seem right now, and they seem bad, 1 week from right now, the Titans could be 4-4. They could be at 500 in 1 week because they play Sunday, then they turn around and play Thursday. They could be 4-4 in a week. And then what would we be saying? For all of the negativity that we have been swimming around in for the last 2 weeks, what would we do then? I'll tell you what we'd do. We'd be sitting here fired up about this team. We'd be sitting here saying, oh my gosh, the Titans are back. Vrabel's the coach of the year. Will Levis is the future. And good thing we didn't trade anybody. Except for Byard. Okay? So things happen quick. I just saw Aaron Rodgers on the Pat McAfee show, I believe yesterday. And he was talking about how fast narratives change in the NFL. He's like, I mean, think about it. He said a couple of weeks ago, people had the Jets as being totally dead in the water. They need to go sign a veteran quarterback to come in. The Jets are doomed. Now they've won a couple games and Zach Wilson's played okay, and everybody's all of a sudden looking at the Jets and saying, whoa, they could make some noise. Because things change quick. You know? And he talked about the Patriots. He said it was just last week, people saying Belichick's going to get fired, Mac Jones is going to get fired. Well, then they went out and beat the Bills on Sunday, and now everybody's like, oh, Belichick got a new contract, and Mac Jones looks like the future. The narratives change quick. Things happen quick. So what I'm saying is, can you imagine the chaos if the Titans can come out on Sunday? If the Titans can come out on Sunday and put together a performance like they did against the Bengals a few weeks ago, what if they do that? Well, then what do? We got 48 hours from then to make a decision about who's going to get traded. Now, Vrabel, who I'm about to talk about more, Vrabel said that the Kevin Byard decision had nothing to do with the team's record, had nothing to do with how they played so far. So he is essentially saying if the team were 6-0, they still would have traded Kevin Byard. Can I just tell you right now, that's a lie. That's an outright lie. They would, can you imagine if this team was 6-0 and the Titans traded Kevin Byard? We would all be punching holes in the wall. Right? Like, we would be punching holes in the wall. So, the Kevin Byard trade absolutely happened because the Titans are 2-4 and haven't looked great so far. Like, it did. Okay. But, okay, so what's going to happen as a result if the Titans were to win? Are there trades that the Titans are thinking about that they will suddenly take off the table? Like I said, the trade deadline is Halloween. That's not a good omen. The trade deadline is Halloween, Tuesday afternoon. You got 48 hours after that game ends Sunday to make a decision about who you're going to trade. And if you win, you're preparing for a quick turnaround to play Pittsburgh Thursday. I mean, we're all talking about these trades. We have to acknowledge that there may be no more trades. As a matter of fact, Jim Wyatt, who in my opinion is the best Titans reporter, well, him and Teron Davenport to me are the two best Titans reporters out there. Not to say there's not any other good ones, but those two guys, I think I would put them up at the top. Jim Wyatt said he doesn't expect any more trades. He does not expect any more trades from the Titans. So that's a realistic possibility. They might not trade anyone else. It's possible. It is possible. And a good point made here in the chat. First of all, Nancy said, every time Brad says the dark years, I cringe, waiting for him to say those dreadful words, the Charlie Whitehurst days. Anybody remember Charlie? He was a good-looking guy. Clipboard Jesus. But the point in the chat here, they said, with our cap space for 2024, what 3 positions would you look to strengthen / go for? I mean, listen, guys, that's another thing that not a lot of people are talking about. Titans have a lot of cap space coming up this offseason. As a matter of fact, I think I saw they have the now with the Byard trade, they're going to have the second best cap space position of any team in the NFL. They're going to have some money to work with. So you talk about a rebuild. If we're indeed doing a rebuild, this could be a pretty pivotal offseason, and I hate to already be talking about the offseason, but here we go. This could be a pivotal offseason coming up in terms of rebuilding this team because you're going to have money and very likely you're going to have a draft pick that's on the higher side of things. So, I mean, this could be, that's why so many people want to see Will Levis. Because you traded up for him in the second round, we need to see at least some semblance of what we've got with this guy. Is there potential? Because if there is, and you think he's going to be the guy going forward, then we will build around him. Let me tell you, guys, I understand. I agree with what Luke said in the chat, of course. For some teams in the NFL, you have your Patrick Mahomes, you have your Josh Allen, who was really good last night, you have your Joe Burrow, you have those guys who just elevate everybody around them. You're right, but let me offer a counterpoint. To me, it is equally important, no matter who your quarterback is, you have got to get the utmost talent around them to put them in a position to succeed. I mentioned Brock Purdy a little bit ago. If Brock Purdy goes and becomes the quarterback of the Chicago Bears or the Carolina Panthers, do you think he's going to be able to put up the numbers? And that's not a knock on him. That's not a knock on him at all. But I'm saying, you don't think he's been helped by the fact that he's got Deebo Samuel, all those names I listed a little bit ago, George Kittle, Christian McCaffrey, like, that helps. Having guys like that around you helps. And that's why I say if you want Will Levis to get a good look, you want to have Derrick Henry there, DeAndre Hopkins there, because those are guys that can help him in his development. Okay. So, and B Ravens 1 mentions this as well. Even the great quarterbacks, Josh Allen, yeah, he's great. I'm not taking anything away from Josh Allen. It helps that he has Stephon Diggs, though. Like, he went from, like, 0 to hero when Diggs got traded there. Okay? Now, it's not taking away from his greatness, but he's got an elite NFL wide receiver. Joe Burrow has Jamar Chase. Well, Joe Burrow has talent all around him. Jamar Chase, T. Higgins, Tyler Boyd, like, they have talent galore. Okay? Tua was just a guy. Like, people were about to give up on Tua. And then here comes Tyreek Hill. They bring in Jalen Waddle. They bring in, all of these talented guys around him. And all of a sudden, Tua looks better. Jalen Hurts. People were about to give up on him. People were about to give up on Jalen Hurts. Until they traded for you-know-who. Okay. And then all of a sudden, Jalen Hurts comes to life. Devontae Smith. I mean, then they traded for DeAndre Swift, who's done some good stuff at running back for them. It's important to get an elite NFL quarterback, certainly. But man, Jimmy Garoppolo went to a Super Bowl in large part because he just had so much talent around him. Brady in Tampa Bay, Mike Evans, he was a big part of that. It's not enough to me just to have, even the great Patrick Mahomes, he had Tyreek Hill. He's got one of the best tight ends ever in Travis Kelce Swift. So you've got to have talent. Now, that's why I think you put Levis in there and see, okay, is there potential? Is this guy awful? Good comparison. You've already put Malik in there. Malik had starts last season. Malik got pretty much the entire preseason this year, and he got some time in the Baltimore game. Odds are he's not it. What you have seen from him so far, you can pretty much look at him and say, that's not going to be the guy. Okay? If you can put Levis in there and not have him go for 500 yards, not have him whatever, but just show you that he gets it and that he can get there. Okay? You've got to be in a position, because that would be great. Because then you could go into the offseason and say, hey, let's build around him. Let's build around him. Let's hit up free agency. T. Higgins is going to be a free agent. Calvin Ridley is going to be a free agent. There are going to be some key acquisitions you can make there. If you bring Hopkins back, if Burks can get his crap together, even a little, hit up the draft, whatever. Okay? If you see enough from Levis to where you say, that's going to be our guy going forward, then you can bring in a bunch of talent around him. And maybe even keep Derrick Henry. There's a lot that could go on there. But Tyjae Spears, you can really help him out. Okay? Put him in a position to succeed. Tua, Jalen Hurts, those are guys who were not put in position to succeed. I see B Ravens 1 in the chat. Lamar Jackson for a long time, I feel like, was not put in a position to succeed because they didn't have a lot of elite talent around him. They had Hollywood Brown. Mark Andrews is a great tight end. But as far as wide receiver and even running back, it was like, man, this guy needs help. He's obviously talented, but he needs help. Okay? When they now they went and got Odell. They drafted some guys who, this is probably the best receiving core Lamar's had. And he's throwing the ball better than he ever has. So there you go. So I think it's important with the rest of this year on Sunday and going forward, you've got to look at Will Levis and see, like, okay, not is he putting up unbelievable numbers, but, does he get it? Look at Bryce Young in Carolina. He's not put in a position to succeed at all. They have nothing there. So it's hard to even get a good idea of what Bryce Young can even do because there's no talent in Carolina. I've got to hurry up, man. This is going to be the longest podcast episode ever, but if you guys are hanging out, cool. I want to talk, because there is a game Sunday. We're talking about trades. We're talking about the offseason. We're talking about next season. We're in the middle of the 2023 season, and the Titans have a game on Sunday in the Oilers throwbacks, by God. And they're playing the Atlanta Falcons. I got to say, Charlie's in the chat saying the only reason the Titans are playing Levis is because Atlanta is garbage, and it will make Levis look better than he is. I have to respectfully disagree. He goes on to say Atlanta's a joke. They will come back down to earth, give it a few weeks. Listen. Hold on. Can you guys see me and hear me? I was talking about Charlie's comments there about Atlanta. I have to respectfully disagree. Because while the Falcons may not be, the Chiefs or the Eagles, the Falcons, and not a lot of people in Titans world are talking about this, Atlanta has a good defense, though. They do have a good defense. They're actually, as sad as this is, Atlanta is averaging less points per game than the Titans I saw yesterday. The Titans are averaging 17 points a game. The Falcons are averaging 16. So this game Sunday could very well be one of those first team to score touchdown wins. But the Falcons have a good defense. Desmond Ridder has struggled, but they've got, listen, if the Titans play run defense like they did against the Colts, the Falcons are going to have 500 yards rushing because they got Algier and they have Bijan Robinson, who something weird happened Sunday. He didn't play because he was not feeling well. I don't know. I think he may have been hungover, but Atlanta's got a good defense. And think about what has happened when the Titans have played especially good defenses this year. Saints had a pretty good defense, and the Titans were horrendous. The Browns, I think, have the best defense in the NFL, and the Titans scored 3 points. So, Will Levis, welcome to the NFL, buddy. You're playing a top 5, top 6, 7 defense. Have fun. That's what's going to be tough. And not to mention our offensive line is kind of cheeks. Vrabel says Nicholas Petit-Frere starting left tackle. In terms of upgrades from Andre Dillard, that's like going from diarrhea to a solid turd. Vrabel, I'm glad I brought up Vrabel a second ago, talking about the NPF thing. Vrabel's been weird this week, man. He's been weird. The whole Levis and Malik are going to alternate series like they're the Auburn Tigers. The whole, Levis and Malik are going to, every other series, I would expect to see them both. Let me first of all say, I think Vrabel's just mouthing off. I think he comes from that Belichick school of, let me try to get a competitive advantage by making it seem like we don't know what we're going to do so that Atlanta doesn't know what to prepare for. Can I tell you this? Atlanta, nor any other team in the NFL, is going to lose sleep over whether or not it's going to be Malik Willis or Will Levis coming out on the field. He's acting like this is, oh man, who's going to play quarterback Sunday? Patrick Mahomes or Nathan Peterman? They're alternating series. No, this is Malik Willis and Will Levis. I doubt anybody in Atlanta on that coaching staff or on that defense is like, guys, what are we going to do? We don't know who's playing. It's just such a stupid, pointless thing to do. And I think it is, if they do alternate series, it's stupid beyond belief. It's the most ridiculous thing I've ever seen. But Vrabel's been weird this week. I don't know if it's just because they've been bad so far, but this thing in the other day with the reporter where he went off on the reporter. Sometimes when Vrabel goes back and forth with reporters, it's kind of funny and enjoyable. But you guys, I don't know if you guys seen the clip. Paul Koharski, of course, posted it. It's kind of uncomfortable. Vrabel's looking at the guys like, you look ridiculous with your arms up like that. It's just bro, what is wrong with you? What's happening? Everything all right? What's going on? I don't think the Titans are going to alternate series. I think they're going to have a specific package for Malik to come in and do Wildcat stuff, and I don't even want to see that. I mean, we tried that last year some, and Malik fumbled and fell down on the floor and all this stuff, so I don't even want to see that. But I think it's going to be Levis for the brunt of it. And yeah, Vrabel's been weird. I even thought Craig Aukerman, the special teams coach, a couple days ago, his press conference was weird. There's just a whole weird vibe around the whole organization right now. But the Titans and the Falcons, you've got to look out. Falcons, the points are going to be hard to come by. For one thing, because Atlanta has a good defense. For another thing, because the Titans are the Titans. And I don't know what the secondary is going to look like without Byard, but seeing how they looked with Byard, I hate to think about what they could look like without him. Roger McCreary has a hamstring injury. I don't know what the deal is with him. That would be bad if he was out. What's Will Levis? Wesley Barnes, who's a diehard Falcons fans, guys, said, what's Will Levis nickname like Malik the Freak? Will Levis is it's Mayo Willie, ain't it? Because he puts mayonnaise in his coffee. Mayo Willie, which is actually kind of I could get on board with that. Mayo Willie! And his, him and his girlfriend broke up. So maybe this is the redemption story he needs to take over Nashville. I don't know. I hope he does okay. But I made the guess on the Rossi report last night. It was good to be on there. I made the prediction, and I thought this was being generous. I said his stat line would be 12 of 20, a buck 40, one pick, and a rushing touchdown. And I think a lot of that, a buck 40, could come from like screens, dump offs, things like that. But hey, you never know till you try. I'm at least excited to see the guy out there. I don't know if I'm as confident as Evan in the chat, who said bro's going to go out there and cook the Falcons defense. I think he said cook. There's like a heart that's, yeah, he said cook. I don't know. Let me go to the 32-1 Two-Tone Talk Power Rankings for this week. This is just how I see it. Regardless of records, regardless of who's beat who, this is how I see the rankings in the NFL right now. And of course, we're going to start with the bottom three. 32 is no surprise. It is the Carolina Panthers. Only winless team left. They had a bye this week. And as I've already noted here, they're bad. At number 31, not a shocker here, the Arizona Cardinals. Kyler Murray getting ready to come back. I don't see the point, but the Arizona Cardinals are bad. They're very bad. Second worst record in the NFL. Number 30, and this feels weird, but Green Bay Packers. I put the Green Bay Packers in the bottom three. I mean, they're bad. They're bad. They lost to the Broncos. Like, that's how bad the Packers are. And but that's a classic case of you've got to give your quarterback a fighting chance by giving them a lot of great talent around him, and Green Bay doesn't have a lot of great talent. Jordan Love needs some help, and he doesn't have any because Jordan Love doesn't look great so far, so you really need some talent around him to help elevate him, and he doesn't have it. So I do want to say Luke mentioned what worries me is that Levis couldn't beat out Willis for the backup spot. I think that may have less to do with Will and more to do with Vrabel being a weirdo about stuff like that, because I mean, Levis missed most of the preseason. It's just weird. All right, that's bottom three. Let's go to the 20s here on the Two-Tone Talk 32-1 Power Rankings. 29 Broncos. They move up out of the bottom three just because they beat the Packers. I mean, good for them. Still think the Broncos are a dumpster fire. The New England Patriots out of nowhere beat the Bills. They look good. I don't think it's going to last, but the Patriots beat the Bills. 27, the Raiders. The Raiders take a big nosedive down the list this week. They were, I know they were playing with Brian Hoyer, but the Bears were playing with a backup quarterback too, and the Raiders got whooped. It's bad. You got people on the team talking about how the coach needs to be fired. It's a bad situation. Number 26, how about the Chicago Bears? The Chicago Bears, who, like I said, what happens if the Bears keep on winning with this kid? I don't know. But the Bears did win, and I'm sure, I doubt it's gonna last. But the Bears are 26 after a win. Number 25, the Giants. The Giants actually have looked better. They hung in there with the Bills in Buffalo. You can argue like they should have had another chance to win there at the end. But the pass interference kind of robbed them of that, or the lack of pass interference. And then the Giants beat the Commanders. So, I mean, Tyrod Taylor, backup quarterback, I can't say they're any worse off with him than Daniel Jones. And so the Giants move up a couple spots to 25. The good guys are at number 24, the Titans. I had them at 25 last week, and they were on a bye, so I don't want to move them around too much. But, I mean, everything I can say about them I've already said. If they want to be any higher than that, they're going to have to play a heck of a lot better. Number 23, the Commanders. I am very worried about my pick of the Commanders making the playoffs as a 7 seed. I'm starting to lose hope. They're on tough times. They're on very tough times there in Washington. Ron Rivera said years ago it was going to take a few years to rebuild that team. It's been a few years, and they're not really looking good at all. Number 22, the Rams. Rams took a tough loss to the Steelers. I feel like that's a game the Rams could and should have won. They didn't. And the Rams, I feel like this is just kind of where they live on this list, just the upper 20s. Colts at 21. Some people say that the Colts got robbed Sunday because of the referee's bad calls. You already know what I'm going to say about this. Yeah, the calls were bad. The referees are incompetent. But in this case, I don't care because the Colts can go lick a fartsicle and eat some dookie stew for all I care. The Colts suck, and we don't like them. So maybe they can hang a banner in their stadium that says, "We would have won if the refs were better." That banner would actually be in everyone's stadium by this point. But the Colts are at 21. They're scrappy. They're scrappy, but, they're number 21. Hey, listen, I hate the Colts, but I'm unbiased. I got them ahead of the Titans, Number 20, the Saints. Saints, they got pretty good little defense. Derek Carr is throwing passes 18 yards out of bounds and then getting mad at dudes for not running routes into the bench, I guess. I don't know. But, yeah, Derek Carr hasn't been very great in New Orleans, and everything's just kind of out of whack there. But they're at number 20. Number 19, the Vikings. Hey, it's been a good couple weeks for the Vikings. They were hopeless. This is, again, like Aaron Rodgers talked about, how narratives change. The Vikings suddenly are, alive. They've won 2 games in a row. They beat the 49ers. That's a quality win. Without Justin Jefferson, by the way. Beat the 49ers without Justin Jefferson. And all of a sudden, with Detroit laying the major egg that they laid, the Vikings are 2 games back in the division? I'm just saying we got a long way to go. And the Vikings, if they get Jefferson back, hey, Vikings, that's a classic case of don't count a team out too early because the Vikings have suddenly come to life. On the contrary, the number 18 team, the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, have totally, I'm not going to say they've died, but, they're looking a lot worse than they did a few weeks ago. They lost, the dreaded loss on Sunday followed by the loss on Thursday. That just sucks to lose 2 games within 4 days of each other. Bucs lost to the Falcons in a critical NFC South game on Sunday. And then they went last night and fought hard against Buffalo. If Chris Godwin turns around on that Hail Mary at the end, that could have been the game right there. But, the Bucs have lost 2 in a row. People didn't have high hopes for them anyway coming in, so people are really going to be jumping ship on them. Number 17, the Texans. I'm going to keep the Texans in the exact same spot that I had them last week because they were on a bye. So the Texans are 17. I'm scared of C.J. Stroud. 16, the Chargers. Chargers were at 12 last week. I still feel like this. People say this is too high to have a 2 and 4, 2 and 5. Yeah, it's bad news for the Chargers, but they were hanging in there a couple weeks ago. They had won a few games in a row, and then they've lost to the Cowboys and the Chiefs back to back. Those are 2 top 10 teams coming right here that have beaten you 2 weeks in a row. So it's tough, but the Chargers are hanging in there against good teams. Maybe the Chargers can try to turn it around. Number 15, the Jets. Definition of that middle of the pack number 15 team, and that's a pretty good spot for them considering a couple weeks ago they were toward the bottom of this list. We'll see what happens with the Jets. But number 14, the Titans' opponent Sunday. 14, the Atlanta Falcons. Good defense, solid run game. Desmond Ridder. One thing you got to keep in mind with Atlanta, they got down to the 1-yard line numerous times against Tampa Bay and then fumbled. So, they moved the ball pretty well against Tampa Bay. Desmond Ridder's, I'm not going to say he's panned out, but he's gotten better from where he started this season. And, weapons like Pitts and London, not guys you're hearing about on SportsCenter, but knowing the Titans, they'll probably have 500 yards both on Sunday. Number 13, the Steelers. Hey, the Steelers are 4-2. they're right there in the mix in the AFC North. I have no idea how. That's just a case of the Steelers are just one of those teams, man. They're always going to find a way into the mix. Mike Tomlin is a great coach. And Kenny Pickett, not doing anything great, but the Steelers are churning out wins. Ugly wins, but they're winning. Look at them, man. Number 13. Number 12, the Seahawks. Speaking of great coaches, Pete Carroll's a great coach. Geno's gotten it back together following a tough loss to the Bengals. It's easy to get it together when you're playing Arizona. So that's pretty much like a bye week. So I'm keeping Seattle at 12. I'm keeping the Browns at 11, despite the fact that they beat the Colts. The Browns are so weird. They have a great defense. They win, but it's like they should be in chaos because Deshaun Watson is getting paid just unbelievable amounts of money, and he has not looked good except for when he played the Titans. He has not looked good. He's on the bench. He's hurt all the time. There's a lot of weird stuff going on surrounding him. Imagine that. There's always weird stuff going on surrounding Watson. They've got a backup quarterback in there, and it should be a total disaster. Nick Chubb's out for the year, and yet they're winning games, and it's on the back of their defense, but like they put up like 40 points the other day. So, I don't know. It's another classic case. Look at even P.J. Walker gets in there, who I think gives him just as good a chance to win right now as Watson. And there's just a lot of great talent around him. Elijah Moore, Amari Cooper, and Njoku, that's good talent around him. And it kind of elevated him with some help from the referees. But like I said, the Colts can go lick a fart sickle and eat some dookie stew. We're to the top 10. Bengals, we're on a bye, so I'm going to keep them at number 10, but, the Bengals, despite the slow start, probably a contender in most people's minds still because of what we know of them from the past few years. Burrow, Chase, you know how it is. Number 9, let me go with the Bills, the Bills won last night, but I still don't think the Bills look good. Still don't think it. But, Allen, Diggs, okay. But right now, I still don't think they've looked great. Cowboys, number 8, they were on a bye. The Cowboys are the Cowboys. Like, they're going to be on this top 10 all year, and then they're going to lay an egg in the playoffs and humiliate themselves. Number 7, the 49ers take a big drop down the list. They were number 3 last week. I don't know what's going on, man. I know they were without Deebo Samuel, but, man, they've looked bad 2 weeks in a row. Brock Purdy 2 weeks ago, again, like Aaron Rodgers said, narratives change quick. Purdy was viewed as a top, people were saying he was a top 5 quarterback a couple of weeks ago, and now he's looked bad 2 weeks in a row. So, I don't know, but the 49ers better look out for Seattle right there on their heels. Number 6, the Detroit. Ooh, I had the Lions. All it took was me putting Detroit at number 1 on this list one time, and they went out and laid the egg of all eggs. They looked horrible. And Detroit's fine. Like, they're 5-2. They're in what I think is a bad division. Like, so they should be able to get it together. But, like, Minnesota is kind of creeping up behind them now. So, I mean, it would be the most Detroit thing ever after this start to totally fall apart and let Minnesota or something come back and win this division. But for now, the Lions drop from 1 to 6 on the list. Let's get into the top 5 here. Number 5, the Miami Dolphins. Dolphins took a tough loss, but I think the Dolphins are going to be fine. I mean, the Dolphins, they were playing the Eagles, who we haven't even talked about yet, so obviously they're high on the list. The Dolphins, I still think, but I mean, it's going to be interesting between them and the Bills in that division, but again, it still comes down to Tua staying healthy. The Dolphins are going to win a heck of a lot more than they lose. Number 4, I hate to do it, guys, but the Jacksonville Jaguars. They haven't looked great so far, but they're winning. They're 5-2, and with the weapons that they have, I shudder to think what could happen when they come back from this little mini bye they're on. Number 3, the Ravens. Woo! The Ravens put a whooping on the Lions, and the Ravens should be viewed as contenders right now. I mean, they look great. Number 2, the defending world champions, the Chiefs. I mean, somehow, some way, even when they don't look good, they win. And now, they're the team to beat. They are always the team to beat. And then number one, the Eagles, the A.J. Brown-led Eagles. They got a big win over Miami, a very quality win. A.J. looked great, and so did the Eagles. So there's the 32-1 Two-Tone Talk Power Rankings. Let's make some picks real quick for games this weekend. Patriots-Dolphins. Can you imagine if the Patriots beat the Bills and Dolphins back-to-back? I don't see it happening. Give me the Dolphins in a redemption win from last week. Jets-Giants. Hey, Jets, this thing may keep on rolling for them. I've got them beating the Giants. I was going to say in New York, but obviously it's in New York. The Giants are technically the home team. I got the Jets winning that one. Jags-Steelers. Man, I would like to see the Steelers win this, but I got the Jags, unfortunately. I think the Jags, they've won, I think, 3 in a row now. They've got maybe even 4 in a row. They've got some swagger. Steelers will put up a good fight in Pittsburgh, but I got the Jags. Texans, Panthers. Man, I would love to see the Panthers win because the Texans are in the AFC South, but of course the Panthers are the worst team in the league. Give me the Texans. Rams, Cowboys. Could be interesting. I could see the Rams putting up a fight, but I'll go with the Cowboys coming off of a bye. Vikings, Packers. See, the Vikings have won 2 in a row. They could make it 3 here. I think they will. I got the Vikings beating the Packers. Saints, Colts. The Saints have totally let the Titans down in every way. They lost to the Texans. They lost to the Jaguars, and now they'll probably lose to the Colts. I'll take Indianapolis over New Orleans. Eagles, Commanders. Commanders put up a good fight against the Eagles last time. I don't think they will this time. I got the Eagles beating the Commanders. Browns, Seahawks. This is an interesting one, and I'm going to take the Browns. I think that defense is going to give Geno Smith a hard time, so I'll take the Browns over the Seahawks. Ravens, Cardinals. Ravens all day. Chiefs, Broncos, Chiefs all day. Bengals, 49ers. The 49ers need to get it on track. And if you need to get it on track, I would not want to play the Bengals coming off of a bye. Give me the Bengals beating the 49ers. Bears, Chargers. This is prime time. This is Sunday Night Football. The Bears and the Chargers. Awful. Give me the Chargers. Monday night is Raiders-Lions. Lions looking to rebound. I think they will. I think the Lions will get a rebound win after that awful showing against the Ravens. Give me the Lions over the Raiders. And last but not least, the Titans and the Falcons. What do I think's going to happen? Everything surrounding the Titans is bad right now. You traded one of your most beloved players. You're 2-4. Rumors that you're about to tank the whole thing. The coach is being weird in press conferences. This is usually when the Titans come out and win, honestly. When everybody thinks the absolute worst about them, this is usually when they win. Oilers throwbacks at home. Man, I'd love to see Will Levis at least show some signs that he can be the guy. I always pick the Titans. The last time I didn't pick the Titans for some reverse psychology, I think, was when I picked Cincinnati to beat them, and then the Titans ended up winning. So I'm going to pick Atlanta. Just for some reverse psychology, I'm going to pick the Falcons. This was one of the longer episodes I've ever done, but we just had a lot to talk about. The Tennessee Titans Two-Tone Talk podcast. We're staying way too high on the wins, way too low on the losses. Thank you for joining me. This podcast is available on Spotify, SoundCloud. If you want to listen to while you're driving down the road and whatnot, you can do that. Thank you guys for joining me on the Two-Tone Talk podcast. I'll see you Monday. Tighten up, everybody. Bye-bye.
Feel free to dance, feel free to sing, just feel free. Feels like the world is picking on ya. Feels like it's picking on me.